Let's create a Jenkins integration with Slack in this module. So we'll be integrating Jenkins with Slack. By the way, what's Slack? You can come to a new tab here and you can type slack.com for us to have an understanding of what Slack is. When you do slack.com, we'll visit the Slack official website. We have here slack.com, say where work happens. So Slack is free to try. Basically, Slack is a communication tool. So you can communicate with different team members across different geographical locations and across different projects. So we are going to be setting up Slack where we can use it for communication and collaboration with our project. I've set up a Slack channel. Yes, a Slack channel. The details are in the video description where you can use to join the Wonder Prep Infra team because we are building an infrastructure pipeline. So we'll be using this channel to perform all our integrations with Slack. Now, while we are on our Jenkins dashboard, we are going to create a new pipeline. So I'll click on new item here and I'll give the name Slack pipeline. So I'll give the name Slack pipeline. This is basically a pipeline that I can use to perform testing between our connection from our Jenkins side to our Slack side. So as I give the name Slack pipeline, I'll select pipeline here and then this should create the pipeline and I click OK. Once I click OK, I'll give the same description here as Slack pipeline. So you have the same description as Slack pipeline. So we've created the Slack pipeline and I'll scroll down gradually. Once I scroll down, under the pipeline definition, we'll allow this pipeline script and I'll click on the drop down here and I'll select hello world. This is just to have a demo pipeline that is created for us by default. Now I will rename the stage as Slack integration and then maybe for the echo command I'll say testing Slack connectivity with Jenkins. This is basically what this echo command will print, testing Slack connectivity with Jenkins. So we just clicked here, we select hello world, and when it comes you automatically change the stage name to Slack integration and then you can put testing Slack connectivity with Jenkins. Once you've done this basic stuff, you can click on save. Remember, we're on our Slack pipeline. When you click on save and you click on build now, basically we just want to be sure that our pipeline is working effectively. The initial setup is complete. So if I click on the drop down here and I come to console output, I'll see the output of the pipeline the pipeline basic configuration based on the given configuration which we had. So it had just one basic command to execute the echo command, which was the testing Slack connectivity with Jenkins at the level of the Slack integration stage. So if I come back to the pipeline here and I click on configure, now the next thing which you are supposed to do is for us to integrate Slack. And for us to integrate Slack, we can duplicate this tab. So I'll right click here, duplicate this tab. Again, you right click, you select duplicate tab. Once I duplicate the tab, I'll come to dashboard. We want to install the Slack plugin for Jenkins. So once I come to dashboard, I'll click on manage Jenkins. And when I click on manage Jenkins, I'll click on plugins. Remember, I click on dashboard, I come to manage Jenkins. I'll click on plugins. When I click on plugins, I'll be installing the Slack plugin. If I come to available plugins or if I come to install plugins in my Jenkins server, if I search for Slack, the Slack plugin has not been installed. So I'll come to available plugins here, click on available plugins and I'll search for Slack. So when I select for Slack, I'll see Slack notification. So this integrates Jenkins with Slack, allows publishing build statuses, messages and files to Slack channels. This is a Slack channel which we have created. You created this channel on November 27th. This is very beginning of the Wonder Prep Infra channel. So anybody who joins this channel, everybody who has access to this channel, once you do your build here on Jenkins and you want to push the build status to your Slack channel, this is what this plugin enables you to do. So I'll select this. Once I select that, I'll click on install. I'll select this and I click on install to install the Slack plugin. And once you click on install, you see download in preparation. Once it's successful, you have two success or the first Slack notification and plugin extensions. So I'll click now on go back to the top of the page. Once I click on go back to top of the page, I'll still come back to manage Jenkins here and I'll click on system instead of tools. Once you install the plugin, instead of searching for tools, you click on system. So I'll click on system. Once I click on system, it will load the system configurations for this given Jenkins server. And based on these system configurations, I will then set up the configurations needed to run Slack. So once you come to system here, you can scroll down gradually. Once you scroll down gradually, you'll be able to see a place for Slack because we've installed Slack. So you see we have Slack under manage Jenkins, system, If you scroll right down to the bottom, you will see Slack. So once you see Slack, you need to give a workspace name, you need to give some form of credential, you need to give the channel, and then you can test connectivity between your Jenkins and the Slack channel. So for us to do this, we need to come back to our Slack channel. Once we are on the Slack channel, if you have your own Slack channel which you want to perform this test with, you click, once you're on the channel here, you can click on this channel name. Once you click on the channel name, you'll see integrations. Again, I came to the channel name, I click on the channel name. Once you click on the channel name, you'll see integrations. I'll click on integrations. And when you click on integrations, you can see add an app. So once you click on add an app, it means you're basically adding this app to, or you want to add Jenkins to your Slack channel. So I'll click on add an app. Now, once I click on add an app, it says add apps to WonderPrep infra team. You see there are many apps which you can add. We have Jenkins, Google Drive, Zoom, Groovy, Jiffy, Google Calendar, and so on. So we are basically going to be adding Jenkins-CI. So Jenkins, they say Jenkins is an open source continuous integration server. So for us to add this, we click on view. Once you click on view, they will tell you Jenkins-CI is a customizable continuous integration server with over 600 plugins, allowing you to configure it to meet your needs. This integration will post build notifications to Slack channel. So they're basically telling you that when you perform a build here on Jenkins, if you want to know if your build was successful or if you failed, you can integrate it directly with Slack. So for us to do this, we click on configuration. Now when you click on configuration, it will open in a new tab. So I'll bring the tab which is open here. This is a tab that has the Slack configuration. Once you click on configuration on your Jenkins, it will open this new tab. So this tab will open by default on your browser, and with this tab you can perform further integrations with your Jenkins server. So once you open the tab, it's going to load the necessary information needed to customize the plugin for usage with Jenkins. So you see it still gives us a basic description. Now if you want to add this Jenkins integration with Slack, we just click on add to Slack, and when you click on add to Slack, it will now give you the necessary configurations. You need to select a channel. So you're basically saying that you want to post to channel. Start by choosing a channel where Jenkins notifications will be posted. So you must select a channel. In our current infrastructure, if you come back here, if you click back, you see we're on our WonderPrep infra team. So this is a channel that we want to perform or we want to push notifications to. If you right click here, you can copy the channel name here. Once you right click on the channel, you can copy the channel name. So if you come back here, we must select the channel. I'll search for the channel which is the WonderPrep channel. So I'll search for the channel within the list of my existing channels. I'll type WonderPrep, and any channel that has the name WonderPrep will automatically pop up. So we have the WonderPrep infra team. I'll select the channel, and then I'll add the Jenkins-CI integration. So once I click on this, add Jenkins-CI integration, it's going to give me the configuration steps. So this page will appear. You see new integration added. Now these are the basic steps which I need to use to be able to establish a connectivity between this Slack channel and my Jenkins server. So for me to do that, the first step, they say you should come to manage Jenkins and then install the Slack plugin. We've already done this. Now they say for you to set this up, you need to come to manage Jenkins again, and then you need to click on configure system. We are currently on manage Jenkins here in our Jenkins tab, and then we are under system and we are under configure system. So the first thing that they need is a workspace name. So you come back to our Jenkins. For the workspace name, we'll copy this name, the team subdomain name. So I'll copy this as a workspace name. I'll copy this and I'll paste it here. Now they're asking the credential. We'll add the credential in a bit, but for the channel, they're asking what is the channel you want to post the build notifications to. If I come back here and I scroll down under integrations, I'll see that this is the channel I want to post build notifications to, WonderPrep infra team channel. So for me to get the channel, I can come back again to my Slack. I'll right click here, come to copy. I'll copy the channel name. So I'll copy the channel name here. Again, the step says you should get a channel name, the default channel you want to post the build notifications to. I came to my Slack, I right click here on the channel that I'm in, and then I'll click on copy channel name. So as I click on copy name, I'll now come back to this integration and I'll paste the name. I can just do a simple right click and then I'll paste the name. Now For the credential, I'll click on add credential. I'll select Jenkins because we need the token to enable us integrate Jenkins and Slack. And under this, instead of me using username with password, I'll select secret text. I'll select secret text. I'll come to my Slack. This is my Slack that has instructions, installation instructions. You see we have integration token credential ID. I need this token to be able to integrate Jenkins with Slack. So I'll double click on this token, right click and copy. Again, once you're on this page that has installation steps, I'll double click on this, I'll right click, and then I'll click on copy. Once I click on copy, under secret text here, for the secret, I'll paste the token here. The token is what I paste as the secret. And then for the ID, I can call this ID Slack channel secret. So I can select the name Slack channel secret. And then for the description, I'll still give the same name, Slack channel secret. So basically, to add the token, you click on this drop down where we have selected, you select secret text. Once you select secret text, you paste the token here. You give the name of the channel, Slack channel secret, and the same ID as description. And once you have this, you click on add. Now once you add, they will tell you credentials added. But after adding the credential, you must click on the drop down here, and then you select Slack channel secret. That is the credential which you added. You click again here, you select Slack channel secret just to be sure that you selected the right credential. Once you have this, it basically means you will have the workspace name, which is the workspace which I invited you to, the credential, and then the channel name. Once you have all three information put, if your information is rightly put, you can click on test connection. If there's successful connectivity between your Slack and your Jenkins, your connection test will show success here. Your connection test will show success. So if you come back here to our Slack channel, you will see that we already have Slack Jenkins plugin. You're all set, meaning that we've established a connectivity. Now, if you come back to our Jenkins, once we've set up this under manage Jenkins system, once we've established this connectivity, all we need to do is just to click on save. Now, once you click on save, it basically means you've configured Slack for use with your Jenkins pipeline. Once our configuration is complete, we can come back to our Slack demo pipeline. We had our Slack demo pipeline here. We have Slack pipeline. This is our Slack demo pipeline. We can come to this pipeline and then test connectivity with Jenkins. Now, for us to test connectivity, let's see some Jenkins commands which we can run. If you open a new tab and you type Slack plugin Jenkins, you'll see they'll give you more details on how you can use the plugin. So this is the plugin. It says Slack notification Jenkins plugin. If you click on this, it'll give you more details on how you can use that plugin with respect to Slack. So these are more details on the plugin, how you can create a function to define colors, and so on. So these are more details about the Slack plugin and how you can equally post messages to the plugin. So this first description is for the Jenkins plugin. You can equally click on the second link, whatever opens first. You should have this. This is the most important documentation which you should use. Is actually having a description as well in the chat. So if you open this documentation, you see how you can effectively integrate Slack. So now this documentation is a reference documentation you can use. But for us to test connectivity with our Slack pipeline, we can still click on our pipeline here. We have pipeline syntax. We right click on pipeline syntax and we open in a new tab. Because we have installed Slack, if you click here, you can search for Slack. You can just type S and it will take you all the configuration that have Slack. So you have here Slack send. This is to send a Slack message. So if you want to test how to send a Slack message, you click on Slack send. Once you click on Slack send, you give the channel name. We come back to our Slack channel. We can copy this, the channel name. We'll copy the channel name, or you can right click here under copy. You select copy name. You copy the channel name, and then in the channel name here, we paste the channel name. For any message you want to give, you can say testing. You can give the message testing Slack integration by Mike. So as I say testing Slack integration by Mike, I'll click on generate pipeline script. You give me a pipeline script which I can use in my pipeline to test. So basically, I'll just copy this, right click, copy, come back to my Slack pipeline, hit enter, and then I'll paste it here. Once I paste it here, because we want to test how Slack works, I hit enter here, I paste the message which I copy from my pipeline syntax, and I click on apply. When I click on apply or save, either ways. Once I click on save, I should be able to build. So I'll do a new build. They say you can use post to trigger builds. We'll proceed. We'll see how to use post in a subsequent module. So let's refresh the tab. Actually, the session expired, so I'll refresh this. I'll take continue, or I'll just press back to get back to a place where I can build. Press back the second time. Under my Slack pipeline, I'll click on build. Once I click on build, a new build will be scheduled, and I'll see a new build. The build was success. If you come to my Slack channel, you'll see I've sent a notification on my Slack channel testing Slack integration by Mike, meaning that the integration between my Slack channel and this pipeline script. Let me duplicate this tab again. I'll right click, duplicate, and then I'll click on configuration or configure. Once I click on configure, I'll see more details about what is the content on the pipeline. Now, once I click on that, I'll basically scroll down to where my pipeline definition is. Here is where I define my pipeline. Under this pipeline definition, the basic message which we send was Slack send to send information to our pipeline. And because we said the message which you want to send is testing Slack integration by Mike, if you come here to the pipeline, you see the message was actually sent. Now, if you want to send more complex messages as far as Slack is concerned, you can see open this reference documentation. You can add more styling to, or you can add more content to the message which you're sending. So you can add details like, okay, we can change the message here. I can copy all of these. I'll just copy all of these. I'll copy this, come back to my Jenkins pipeline. This is Jenkins pipeline. And then instead of having this message, I'll replace this message with this. So I'll right click and I'll paste. So I need to make sure the message is in between this inverted comma, and then come to the end of the pipeline and put another inverted comma. So basically, I can equally say build done by Mike, and then I'll do build started. I give yes using environment variables. We discussed environment variables in our previous tab. It's going to tell us the build job. It's equally going to tell us the build number, and then it will tell us the URL of my Jenkins server. So once I input this and I click on apply, you'll see it as saved. So we have some form of an error. There's an error with our code. Let me see. Oh, there's two inverted commas. I'll delete the second one and I'll click on apply. We no longer have any error. So once I have this, I'll come back to my pipeline and I'll do a new build. Once I do a new build, the build here is successful. If I come to my channel, you'll see it has added some form of information. Build done by, or build started by, the job name, the environment build number, and the environment URL. So I'm going to customize how this information can be more readable within our pipeline. So that's to give us more information. So we'll just correct that. We'll modify that information to ensure that it has the right message as far as the build is concerned. So instead of having that single, instead of having in our configuration here, instead of having this single quote, we use double quotes, double inverted commas. We use double inverted commas to get this actual environment variable. So you pick the name of our pipeline, you pick the current build number, and you pick the build URL. Once I put that and I click on apply, we have double inverted commas here. So I'll delete the second one. And I'll click on apply. Once I click on apply, come back to my other tab, click on build now. If I click on build now, I'll see we have our food build is success. The build number is the food build. Our pipeline is the Slack pipeline. If you come to your Jenkins server, you'll see that it has added the build job name. This is the job name. The job name is Slack pipeline. The build number is number 4. And if you want to open, you see if you highlight here, you see it's giving the URL of the pipeline. If I click on this, you open the current Jenkins URL to take me to that particular build number. So that's how you can customize the content of your Slack message. So we have here, we have added message to add more detailed description as far as message is concerned. We can equally add some form of color like we currently have here. We just have gray. We don't know if the build was successful or not. So for us to know if our build is successful, we can add colors such that green should specify if the build is successful, and maybe some other color to specify if the build was unsuccessful. So for us to do that, if you come back to our Slack integration here, you see in our Slack documentation, we can add color. They are telling you that if you have to add color, good, warning, and danger, those are the different color codes which you can have. So in our pipeline, we'll come back to configure pipeline here. Before the message, we'll click here, we'll type color, and now the color can either be like we see in the documentation here. The color can either be good, warning, or danger. So I'll come back to my pipeline. Under color, I'll put good. To specify the current color, so I'll put good. I think the color has to be in inverted comma. So I'll specify color and then good. So I'll delete this space, So color good, and I'll take apply. This means that when I build, I should have a particular color, as we can see here in the official documentation. So you can see we have color and then you specify the color. Oh, the color is supposed to be double inverted comma. So I'll come back to my pipeline and I'll highlight and I'll use double inverted comma. I'll delete this and delete this other one. So the color is supposed to be in double inverted quote. So I'll take apply. Once I click on apply, I'll come back to this other tab and I'll build now second time. I'll build the second time. So I have the build field. Let me check the error. Let's see. I'll click on console output. Okay, color good. They say multi-line found this. So we have to correct that. Basically, if I come back here, I'm sure we did not put the right quotes. I'm sure this is supposed to be in single. Let's put this in single quotes. We put a space and then we apply and we try to do a build and see if the build will work. Let me build now. So the build C field, I'll come here, I'll check console output. So probably expecting this found comma. So let's go back to our pipeline. Configure. Not sure why the error is popping up. Oh, we need to have a comma. There's supposed to be a comma before the color. So I'll click on apply. Once I click on apply, I'll come back here. I'll still click on our Slack pipeline and build now. So once I take build now, you see we have a success. If you come here, instead of showing gray like the others, the color now is showing green. So as per the documentation, we can equally have another color as warning. So for us to test how it works, I'll come back to my pipeline here. I'll change this good to warning. Let's see how it looks. So I'll select warning here. Once I put warning, I'll click on apply, come back to the pipeline, build now. Once I build now, I'll check the build status. It shows success. If you see warning, it's showing yellow. Let's come back to the documentation. There's another color which you can have. You can equally have danger. So let's test danger. We come back to our pipeline here. We check this and we type danger. Type danger. We click on apply and then we come back to our build. We do a new build. Once we do a new build, we come back. You see we have danger is giving us red. So you can vary these colors based on the build status. Now, this build here, we are doing the colors manually. We can as well, rather than having these colors being done manually, we can use a strategy that will give us these colors by default based on the build result. So for us to have the colors being given based on the build result, we'll create a simple function that is a function that will take into consideration the various color maps. So I'll hit enter here and then above I'll type def to create a function. I'll type def and I'll call this function color underscore map. Once I call this color underscore map, I'll do equal and I'll define the function. So basically I'll say, I hit enter again, I'll say if the pipeline is success, I want to give the color of this pipeline good. Good will mean that it will be green. If the pipeline is failure, I want to give the pipeline color danger. I want to give it danger. Basically, if you come again here to our documentation, we see we can have the color can either be good, warning, or danger. But I want to use just two colors. If the pipeline is good, if it's successful, I'll use good. If it's a failure, I'll use danger and I'll put a comma here. So this is a basic function that we can use to change the value of or to change the color based on the build status. Now, once you change this color here, you come again. Instead of us manually or hard coding the color here, we are going to use this function. So where we have color here, we'll call the color function. So I'll type color to call the function color underscore map. This will reference this color map here. So I'm calling the function here. I've created the function color map here. So I'm calling the color map function here. And I'll reference the build status. So I'll say you check the current build and then you also check the current build result. So was it a failure or was it a success? So this function will be changing based on the build result, either if it's a success or if it's a failure. That's how I'll define the function. So I'll create a function called color map and then I'll give it values if it's success or if it's failure. Let me delete this space. If it's success or if it's failure. I think I also need a comma here. I'll put a comma here. So basically this should define our function. Once we define the function, summarily the function is color map, and we call this function here. We are saying that this function should take into account the current build status and the current build result. So the color will change based on the build status and the build result. So once you have that, you can click on apply. Now, instead of us having this message here as a stage, we are going to put this as a post. What does post mean? We can come to Jenkins documentation. We type Jenkins post action. So let's just say Jenkins post action. So we can come on that. It will take us to pipeline syntax. So they say post basically enables you to send some information after a build. If you scroll down here, we can search for, just search, you can press Ctrl F and then you type post. It should take you to where we have post in our pipeline. So if you type Ctrl F and you click on post, you see we can use post. They say post helps you to send information. This is the information here. They tell you that the post section defines one or more additional steps that run upon completion of all the stages in your pipeline. So you can use always when you're doing a post. It means that you always send information, or you can use change, or you can use fix, you can use aborted, you can use failure, or you can use success. So if you want to send a post notification after all your stages, you can add a post notification. So I'll right click on this post notification, I'll copy this, I'll come back to our pipeline. These are all our stages. After all our stages, I'll hit enter and then I'll paste. I'll hit enter twice and I'll paste. I'll paste here, hit enter again, and I'll paste the post action. Let me delete this so that it can be aligned with our stages. So if you take note, after all of these stages, we have now our post action. It means that after all these stages have executed the commands, we'll have our post action. So instead of us having this line 13 here, I'll copy this line 13 out. I'll cut this line 13 out. I'll right click, cut, and I'll put a basic shell command. So I'll do sh and I'll say a command to do present working directory. So instead of us having this Slack configuration command, I'll just allow the sh pwd because we want to test our function. So in the post action, I'll hit enter here, I'll right click and I'll paste the command. This was our command which we copied, which we're using above to test. So basically the post action we are saying is after all our stages are complete, if the stages are successful or failed, we'll use that in the post action. So rather than saying echo hello world, hello again, I will say sending build result, sending build result. So once I've done this post configuration, I'll click on apply, come back to the pipeline, and then I'll build now. So I'll do a new build, build 10 success. If you come to our pipeline, build 10 success, you see build done by this Slack pipeline. This, if you want to get more information about the pipeline, you can click on this and it will take you here. Now, the build is successful because our configuration is correct. If you want to test if the color map is working dynamically without us specifying a color, we can just delete one of these. So we'll have a pipeline syntax error, and then we click on apply. Once we click on apply, we come to our other tab and then we build again. We do a new build. We do build now. Once we do build now, you see the pipeline failed. If you come to our Jenkins, you see it automatically notifies us that our pipeline failed. So basically with this Slack pipeline, we've been able to integrate Jenkins such that based on the success or on the failure of our pipeline, we can get the respective notification. So we can save this as Slack pipeline. If you come to Slack pipeline here, our Slack pipeline is complete. Now in our next module, we are going to use the same configuration in this Slack pipeline to integrate with our Terraform infra pipeline.